Good morning, and thank you for joining me for Mississauga's weekly update. I'm joined today by Superintendent Mark DePatt from Peel Regional Police, as well as Colin Patterson, Supervisor of Road Safety at the City of Mississauga. I first want to address the disturbing attack that took place at Dar al-Tawhid Islamic Center this past weekend, when a man entered the mosque during dawn prayers and shot bear spray at congregants while brandishing a hatchet. I'm incredibly thankful for the courage of the worshippers, one as young as 19 years old, who quickly sprung into action to take down the attacker and ensure that this didn't become a much bigger tragedy. I want all members of this mosque and Mississauga's Muslim community to know that I stand in solidarity with you and join you in strongly condemning this brazen and unprovoked attack. I've spoken to the mosque's Imam, Ibrahim Hindi, to offer my support in any way I can. As one of the most diverse and welcoming cities in the country, this incident is the furthest thing from who we are as a community. And with Ramadan quickly approaching, I know the mosque is looking at ways they can better protect congregants, including keeping their doors locked after the prayers begin. This deeply saddens me, as residents should never feel scared, shaken, or unsafe at places of worship. These sacred places should be able to maintain an open-door policy. It also saddens me that these kinds of incidents continue to happen in Canada, and hate crimes have been on the rise over the last few years. I'm thankful that our partners at Peel Police treat potential hate crimes with the utmost seriousness, with PRP having the highest charge rate for hate crimes of any large jurisdiction in Canada. I also want to mention that yesterday at Council, we voted unanimously to lift Mississauga's mask bylaw, which now brings us into lockstep with the province. In the same motion, Council voted to lift our emergency declaration 2 years to the day after I signed it on March 23, 2020. Lifting the emergency declaration is incredibly significant and is a testament to the efforts of all our residents, the sacrifices that you have made over the last 2 years, and your willingness to do everything you can do to protect our community, including going to get vaccinated. It is also a strong sign that life is returning to normal. And on behalf of the City of Mississauga and members of my council, I want to thank residents from the bottom of my heart. Without your efforts, we wouldn't be in the position that we are today. With Mississauga and the entire province now in a completely new phase of this pandemic, I ask that all residents to please be respectful of the personal choices people are making. If you choose not to wear a mask in settings that don't require one, that's okay. If you choose to wear one, that's okay too. Everyone is going to have to make a different comfort level. Everyone's going to have a different comfort level, and personal decisions may change depending on the setting. For now, I'm going to continue to mask indoors in large settings, like in a mall, or at a concert, or at a sports game, but I may not if I'm going into a small shop where there's only 1 or 2 people. I encourage people to do whatever they're comfortable doing, and I'm confident fellow Mississaugans will respect their choice. I do want to remind everyone that masking is still required on public transit, in long-term care homes, and in healthcare and congregate settings until at least April 27th, and that is province-wide. Masks are still required at airports and when traveling by air or by train. I now want to share some really promising news about the success of our speed camera program that's helping make our streets safer. Council made the decision last year to implement 22 speed cameras on our roads because speeding continues to be a serious issue in Mississauga. We have since identified over 60 locations where these speed cameras will be rotated in and out, all in community safety and school zones with speed limits of 30 kilometers an hour. And while we're still ramping up to get all 22 of our cameras in neighborhoods across the city, we did have cameras active on 12 streets between July and December last year. And frankly, the results are very encouraging. Drivers are slowing down, the cameras are working. In the stretches of roads where our speed cameras were in place, we saw a 22% increase in speed limit compliance overall, with the average speed of vehicles decreasing by 7 kilometers an hour. While I'm extremely happy that the presence of our speed cameras are changing the driving behavior of some people, I'm very concerned that so many residents are continuing to speed. In the same period last year, we issued more than 5,300 tickets to drivers on the 12 streets where we had cameras. On average, that's nearly 450 tickets per location. That's a staggering number and greatly worrisome, especially because these areas are where so many children and families walk to and from school and playgrounds. We also saw 451 repeat offenders with a single license plate racking up 8 tickets. The 3 stretches of roads that saw that most tickets were Whitehorn Avenue between Weir Chase and Pickwick Drive. 772 tickets were issued in just over a month. Compliance with speed limits increased by only 13%, well below the average. The highest ticketed speed was 71 kilometers an hour. And remember, that's in a 30-kilometer zone, so that's more than double the speed limit. The stretch of road where we saw the second highest number of tickets was Mississauga Valley Boulevard between Voltaire Crescent and Silver Creek Boulevard. 936 tickets were issued in just over a month. Compliance with the speed limit increased by 25%, just above average. And the highest ticketed speed was 73 kilometers an hour. And the stretch of road that saw the most tickets was Colonial Drive between Garthwood Road and Orleans Road, with 1,081 tickets issued in just over a month. What's notable here is that despite the number of tickets, compliance with the speed limit increased by 34%, significantly over average. The highest ticketed speed was 69 kilometers an hour. Now, I want to be very clear. The goal of this program is not to make money. It was intended to act as a deterrent and to reduce speeds. In fact, I'd be thrilled if we didn't issue a single ticket, because all drivers were complying. The revenue we collected from these tickets will at first go towards offsetting implementation costs, with additional revenue in the coming years directed to other road safety measures we have in place across the city. These preliminary results are very encouraging, and I know Council looks forward to exploring how we can expand this program in the future. What's clear from the data is that people continue to speed on our roads and in designated school and community safety zones. But it's also clear that the cameras are having a positive effect and people are slowing down. This reduction in speeding is incredibly important. We know, for example, that the chance of surviving being hit by a vehicle traveling 40 kilometers is less than 50%. However, the survival rate at 30 kilometers an hour jumps up to 90%. Simply put, slowing down saves lives. We took this important step because Mississauga is a Vision Zero city, and we are incredibly serious about reaching our goal of 0 deaths and 0 serious injuries from collisions on our roads. I do want to thank all of Council for their support on this initiative, and in particular, Ward 9 Councillor Pat Sato and Ward 1 Councillor Stephen Dasco, who both sit on our Road Safety Committee and have been strong champions for this initiative. Along with speed cameras, we continue to make progress on our Vision Zero plan by reducing speed limits from 50 to 40 kilometers per hour on local roads and from 40 to 30 kilometers per hour in school zones. Using mobile speed boards to improve speed compliance, implementing slow streets to make more space for pedestrians and cyclists to move around their neighborhoods safely, improving street lighting at intersections, developing a pilot program to create a car-free environment in front of schools during drop-off and pickup times, and providing residents with free slow down signs to place on their property as a reminder to drivers to comply with speed limits on local roads. Taken as a whole, these measures are making a difference and making our streets safer. But we know there's a lot more work to be done. And truthfully, I won't be happy until we reach our Vision Zero goal of 0 deaths and serious injuries on our roads. We're also still seeing too many serious and sometimes fatal collisions in our city as a result of impaired driving, stunt driving, and dangerous driving. And now, to talk more about just how serious these issues are and how enforcement is working to combat them, I'll now invite up to speak Superintendent Mark DePatt from Peel Regional Police to speak to the issues. Superintendent?
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor Crombie, for inviting Peel Regional Police here today to discuss road safety. I am Superintendent Mark DePatt, and I have the lead role in community safety and well-being services at Peel Regional Police. I want to start off by thanking the city for installing speed cameras across Mississauga in school zones. This has proven to be a very helpful and effective program in keeping our roads safer. I also want to thank the residents in the community who have made road safety a priority in Peel and constantly raise the issue up to the mayor, councillors, and to us at Peel Police. Through this type of enforcement, we are not only alerting drivers to be aware and to drive within the speed limit, it also provides some peace of mind for parents and residents who live in the area. With children back in classrooms and the warmer weather upon us, it is critical that we all do our part to ensure that our roads are safe across Mississauga and the rest of Peel. At Peel Regional Police, our Road Safety Services team has the primary objective of Vision Zero. This means 0 injuries and 0 deaths on our roads. Everyone, speed limits are not merely suggestions. They are posted for a reason, and they are the law. The experts have conducted studies and concluded that if you're traveling 30 kilometers an hour in a school zone and something goes wrong, such as a child suddenly entering the roadway, there will likely be enough time to react and prevent a tragedy. Road safety matters make up one of our highest calls for service that we respond to. Our road safety officers spend hundreds of hours every month on Peel roads conducting traffic enforcement, monitoring high traffic areas, and investigating complaints. We receive many complaints to our Road Watch unit and through tips reported to Crime Stoppers for drivers who are impaired and under the influence, distracted or stunt driving, and that includes racing on our streets. Last November, we deployed road safety officers to Mill Creek Drive, just north of Derry Road, near Lynn Rose Heights School, due to the number of complaints that we received. In one instance, officers stopped a vehicle traveling 89 kilometers in a posted 30-kilometer-an-hour zone. An approved screening device test was administered on the driver because it was suspected that they had consumed alcohol. This driver blew more than twice the legal limit. Despite stricter laws, harsher penalties, and greater enforcement, impaired, high-speed, and distracted driving is still a prominent issue, especially during the warmer months of the year. It causes serious vehicle collisions and fatalities on our roads. Because this is such a big concern, Peel Police has made road safety an area of focus in our service delivery. We are applying a community safety and well-being lens to road safety, along with matters involving mental health and addictions, violent crime, and priority populations. This means we're informing our efforts through the use of data, identifying gaps in current systems, and implementing upstream solutions to these priorities. This year, we will be developing a specific road safety strategy in collaboration with our community partners, including Vision Zero Peel, the City of Mississauga, and Brampton. The strategy will take an approach beyond enforcement and look at prevention and risk intervention for road safety matters. We anticipate this strategy to be ready for 2023. We're also developing an awareness campaign around Road Safety Week in May, with a focus on distracted driving and staying off your phone while you're driving. This is in addition to the existing work that we're doing. For example, we established a Safer Roads team, which target prolific, dangerous driving offenders. Project Noisemaker was created to address the ongoing concerns of community members who have to deal with the nuisance of loud and modified mufflers on the road, especially during the late hours of night on residential streets. Officers laid close to 1,000 charges in 2021. Another successful initiative has been Project Erase, in partnership with the OPP and other police services. We've dedicated resources and officers to suppressing, investigating, and enforcement of illegal road racing and stunt driving. In 2021, our RoadWatch online reporting system was enhanced for more effective and responsive reporting of traffic complaints. In January alone, RoadWatch received 117 complaints. Our road safety team spent 744 hours on traffic enforcement. 372 hours of that was spent on high traffic complaint areas. Complaints can be made at peelpolice.ca. Click on Report It and select Make a Report. Road safety is everyone's responsibility, and we are counting on our community members and residents to not only drive safe, but to notify police of dangerous drivers. We have to collectively work together and avoid tragedies like the one in Brampton in June of 2020, when Caroline Chisulo and her 3 daughters were tragically killed when their SUV was struck by an impaired driver. As mentioned, our objective for road safety is Vision Zero. Zero harm, zero deaths on our road. We all need to do our part to get there. Thank you. Mayor, I'll pass it on to you.
Go sit down. Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent, and I'm incredibly thankful for the work Peel Police is doing to make our roadways safer. Before I take questions from the media, I want to note another significant piece of city news. Last year, the City of Mississauga issued nearly $2.1 billion in building permits, a record-setting year. We currently have the highest number of housing units under construction that we have had in 30 years, more than 17,000 units under construction. And we also have more than 60,000 units in the hopper, approved and ready for developers to get shovels in the ground now. This is because our planning and development team is working incredibly hard, with more than 95% of approvals for building permits completed on time. We are doing everything we can at the city to help bring more units to market faster and address the housing affordability crisis sweeping this province. With the average price of a home in Mississauga now north of $1 million and out of reach for many, we can't sit idly by. I know the province and Minister Clark are equally as concerned and have received a report with dozens of recommendations from the Housing Task Force on how we go about fixing this. I must say I have some concerns about the tone of the report, namely that it zeroes in on cities as the source of delay for getting more housing built. The reality is that while the plan may help build more new homes, it does nothing to help make them more affordable. That's where we need our federal and provincial partners to step in and help address issues like land value and speculation, the cost of labor and supplies, and use other tools to cool the market, like a foreign buyers or a speculation tax, to bring fairness to the market. As the Mayor of Ontario's third largest city, I realize we need to continue to intensify and provide more options for housing so we can meet the growing demand of people who want to live here. Like any suburb transforming into a big city, yes, we grapple with some NIMBYism, but I'm confident that our plan, which will see growth in the areas we have planned for it and where it makes sense, like in our downtown, near our transit routes, and along our waterfront, will allow us to hit our growth targets. Further, as we grow and change, it's important that we don't lose our identity. Infill development and intensification in existing neighborhoods can and should happen. In fact, we have a plan to do so. However, there must be consultation and input. A one-size-fits-all approach will not work. If the recommendations move forward, we could see up to 4 units or 4 stories in a residential neighborhood with no approvals or consultation needed. Or buildings anywhere from 6 to 11 stories in residential neighborhoods on transit routes. These images are a bit alarming, and I think it's important that residents are aware of the changes the province could be exploring, which is why we are providing residents with the opportunity to learn more at a virtual public meeting hosted by the city on April 6th at 6:30 p.m. To register, please visit mississauga.ca/meeting. At the end of the day, every level of government plays a part in addressing housing affordability. Here in Mississauga, we believe it's important that cities and our residents have a say in how we grow. And now, along with Superintendent DePatt and Colin Patterson, we will take your questions.
Mayor, your first question comes from Steve Cornwell at the Mississauga News. Go ahead, Steve.
Mayor Crombie, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
That's good to hear. Good. I wanted to ask about the speed cameras, the ASE program.
Yep.
You mentioned in your initial comments that the city had plans for the 22 cameras to be in place and operational last year. So I understand there were some challenges with signage and getting them up in time, but we're obviously kind of approaching the 4th month of 2022 here, and, and the city still seems kind of stuck at 13 cameras here. So can you, and perhaps Colin as well, is there an explanation as to why at this point there aren't 22 cameras in place?
Yeah, and let's remember that these cameras will also rotate in different designations that have been identified by local councillors to serve as a deterrent to speeding on our local streets. If Colin Patterson is available, I'll have him address the specific question on why the delay and when all 22 will be functional and operational, but it's my understanding that they currently are. So Colin, over to you.
Good morning, and thank you for your question. The deployment of the ASE cameras were somewhat delayed as the program was expanded in the midst of our citywide speed limit changes and other challenges created by the pandemic, such as supply chain issues and material shortages. Most of the city's ASE cameras are now operational, with 18 that have been or are currently enforcing the speed limit. As ASE rotates to new locations, there is a period of downtime when the cameras are being calibrated at each new site, and this time can vary from location to location. We expect the remaining four 4 cameras to be activated shortly.
Follow-up, Steve?
Sure, and perhaps this is for Colin as well, or if Mayor Crombie wants to comment on it as well. There's a Toronto Star story this month that indicated in that city that as many as 89,000 images were triggered by speeding vehicles, but were not processed due to staffing issues and provincial deadlines to mail out tickets within 30 days of the alleged offense. So I'm wondering, has there been instances of drivers caught speeding by Mississauga ASC units and no tickets were issued because they weren't processed in time?
So I'll start, and then Colin can respond as well. So certainly that is a challenge, and even processing the provincial offences has been somewhat challenging at our courts. And so there has been a backlog and delays, absolutely. And Colin, I'll go over to you for the balance.
Thank you, Mayor Crombie. There may be times during ASE programs where there are images captured and they are not processed. A big part of that is related to the requirement to issue charges to vehicle owners within 30 days of that offense. So as traffic volumes change or fluctuate, or when more than expected vehicles are captured speeding on some of these roadways, there may be times when images remain unprocessed. There were approximately 1,600 images in 2021 that met this criteria and were not processed through Mississauga's ASE program.
Your next question comes from Takar, sorry, apologies, at The Pointer. Go ahead.
Is Anu okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Crombie. I'm Anu from The Pointer, and my first
Welcome.
question thank you. My first question to you is, there are clearly repeat offenders, so how we have these speed cameras more as, suggestive measures, are we taking some other measures like introducing speed bumps? Mm-hmm. Because we have repeat offenders, so.
Yes, absolutely. Then we saw that one individual car was ticketed 8 times. So certainly there are a number of measures that we always discuss at council. And, speed bumps are a little bit controversial. Residents think they want them, and then we implement them, which they can be costly as well. And they have to remove them so that the snow plows can access those roads again, and then they're taken out. So those are a different decision. And I may ask Colin to comment on other deterrent measures that we have in place, and maybe even Superintendent Dupat will comment as well. So Colin, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Crombie. As Mayor Crombie highlighted earlier, there are a number of other measures that we are implementing in our neighborhoods to try and address speeding and aggressive driving. Traffic calming is one of them. We have a number of different types of methods. There are the physical and permanent speed hump installations. We also have a number of passive techniques that we will deploy, such as our Slow Streets program, our speed awareness programs, the speed awareness devices that you'll see at the side of the road. All of these are in an effort to try and reduce aggressive driving and speeding in our neighborhoods.
I'll just ask Superintendent Dupat to comment as well. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the question. It's a very good question. Traffic calming measures is definitely something that Peel Police would consider. As mentioned earlier, we are developing a specific road safety strategy that we anticipate will be ready by 2023. One of our aims will be to consult with the community, to consult with Vision Zero Peel, the City of Brampton, and Mississauga, and the experts, and take all those things into consideration, determine what is feasible, what we can do in the interim, and what we could do long term. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a follow-up?
There is. I was just wondering how the courts are dealing with the increased tickets.
Yes, as we've heard, there are significant delays, but they are being processed. Colin, do you want to respond to court processing of our ASE fines?
Sure. I think generally speaking, we're working within our court capacity constraints, much like all of the other municipalities within the province. So we have not had any issues thus far.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Your next question comes from Declan Finnegan at Untitled. Go ahead, Declan.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Crombie.
Welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I think my first question is for Superintendent DePatt.
Perfect.
Please.
I'll invite him up.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I just want to, a police cruiser parked in a community safety zone would seem to me to be more of a deterrent to speeders than speed cameras. Are police deployed to some of the same locations where the cameras are located, given that they are speeding hotspots?
Yes.
Or do you tend to deploy cruisers elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is a case-by-case basis, depending on the type of complaints that we're getting. So if we're getting speeding complaints in an area where there is an automated speed camera, but at the same time we're getting complaints about dangerous driving or distracted driving, we may deploy an officer to look after those specific offenses or the combination of those offenses. Great question. We would deploy them anywhere where the officers feel that there's an immediate need for intervention for the safety of that community, and that might be in areas where a camera already exists.
Follow-up, Declan?
Yes, please. This could be for the superintendent as well as the mayor. I'm just wondering, it was mentioned that there was one license plate was ticketed 8 times. I'm wondering, is it commonplace where the same license plate is being ticketed multiple times, 3, 4, 5 times?
Yeah, great question. I don't know if I would classify it as being commonplace, but it certainly happens. There are drivers out there that make conscious decisions to not follow the Highway Traffic Act and continue to speed in areas on a regular basis, depending on the charges and when they're processed. They may not even be aware that they were captured multiple times until the offense notices actually arrive at their door.
Declan, with respect, yes, unfortunately there are repeat offenders, and hopefully the penalties will serve as a deterrent to them. Next question, please.
That was your final question for the day, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.